Welcome to another heart-centered production by Headwater Sage for the Blake Matthew Mindful Memorial Foundation.
DJ Fusion.
Gatlin Fenwick.
Shay Newman.
How's it going, my man?
So, you a lot of people still know you as Shay.
Yeah, they do and they don't. It depends where you're at. Depends what's going on. I mean, in Madison, it's a little half and half. In the Dells, they just bill me as DJ Shay. They don't. It's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
It just depends on what's going on. Until Facebook, nobody even knew my real name.
Hang on, I gotta get my. Yeah. So did you start out on MySpace like the rest of us?
Oh yeah, I was in the MySpace era. I mean, that officially dates us, but that was probably the first social network.
Yeah.
To really get out there and it wasn't just like a personal thing, it was a professional thing. You know what I mean? Like at that point in time, I was already
right.
DJing. I was already kind of out there, kind of known, but I had to promote things.
Yeah, it was like your LinkedIn.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's what LinkedIn evolved from, is people wanted to professionally network without all the crap.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we met, I was trying to think, because when I lived on Laval, we both lived on
Laval Street. Yeah.
I think it was 6th grade-ish, maybe 7th, when we started hanging out. And I didn't play baseball, but you did.
I did. Yeah,
and I think we might have started by just playing some catch or something. And then after high school, typical story, we went different
ways,
directions, and we've stayed Facebook friends. And this whole time I've been caught up to the point knowing that you were DJ Fusion, and I saw it for the first few years, because you started that right away, didn't you?
I was kind of DJing when we were graduating.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't have the name yet. I was just Shay or whatever. But like when we graduated, the summer we graduated, we had that crazy house party out on like Triple H, when they were moving that house. It wasn't even on a foundation, like they had moved it, and it was just set there. And I mean, it was like a beautiful cultural clash, right? Like all the different, sub cliques of the high school, everybody was there, and I was DJing, and a couple other people were DJing, and guys were out drinking in the trucks in the front lawn, and it was like a really crazy experience. But yeah, for me, DJing started in high school, but professionally it was more like 2003, 2005.
Okay, so just a few years after high school.
It took a while to get good at it. Sure. It took a while to figure out, after being good at it, how to monetize it and make it something that I could stand on, right? Like, I'm not just, I don't want to work a full-time job, work 40 hours a week, and then have to go DJ on top of that too, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, passion project. Like, I want it to be the career.
So is that what you did between high school and 2005, was just sort of as a hobby, and then 2005 was when you found your professional?
It was a little bit before that. Between 2000 and 2005, I was kind of had like a part-time job. I ended up out in Colorado for a while with Chris Bruin. Do you remember Bruin?
Yep.
In high school, my family my parents divorced, and things were kind of, it was a rough time as a kid, right? But like, Bruin's house was my second family. It was my second household. Okay. So, when things kind of weren't working the way that I needed them to, things weren't on a positive path, Chris was like, come out here, turn it around.
Yeah.
So I got on a plane and I flew to Colorado, and I bunked with Chris for a couple of years, and just got a job and started DJing out there. And, that's where I figured out DJing could be a job versus a hobby. I saw other people doing it. I saw they were able to do it at a higher level. And I was also able to see where people are doing this as a passion, and people are doing it as a profession, and how you can remove your personal feelings and the personal things that you like and don't like about it, to be able to break that barrier to monetize it.
Yeah. There's so much art involved in DJ that I think most people take for granted, because we show up to a party and there's good music playing, and we just like, oh yeah, there's a DJ. I'm glad he's got this under control.
Right.
But then there's DJs that get more interactive, and they're more of an MC, and it's like, I could see how your value really builds as far as what you provide.
But then there's different sides of it too. Like I also, I started DJing electronic music, house music, and things like that. But urban music and hip hop is like what really made money for me. I always liked both of those things, but I also like a little bit of rock and a little bit of funk and a little bit of everything. Like I got exposed to a lot of different music growing up in a musical household. So, for me, being a DJ was a really great opportunity to take all of these things that I like and put them all together and then share that with other people. But it was also a really big time in the DJ culture and in the electronic world. If you weren't making electronic music, there was a point of like where your DJ career would stop.
Really?
So if you weren't somebody like Avicii where you made your own music and then went out and pushed it and promoted it, performed it, like that was the start of that whole time. And that wasn't me. I wasn't the music producer. I'm the DJ, more of like a remix artist. You know what I mean? So I kept more with the traditional roots of turntablism and DJing versus producing music. So that's a different avenue as well.
Sure. That's what you're 25 years into it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I run a radio station. I'm an on-air personality. I never at any point in time pictured when I started the DJ career that I'd be behind a microphone or even an on-air personality, right? So that's part of the evolution of just making it happen and continuing to do the things that I love, like to be able to mix on the radio and do this for thousands of people. I ended up having to sacrifice that personal feeling and anxiety of being on the microphone and talking to people to be able to have that opportunity to still mix.
Sure. So you had to step outside your comfort zone and
100%.
Yeah.
To be able to have the little thing that I wanted, I had to put myself in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah.
To, not position, but like you had to learn new things, come out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And, add new skills to the toolbox.
Well, you've had quite a ride so far. You've, Music Awards, you received DJ of the Year 1 year from the Madison Area Music Awards, and then a Best of Madison title. And then the Wisconsin Broadcasting Association Awards included the Best Night Show and recognitions for your impact in the community.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I've won the Madison Music Awards 3 times. And then after that, I was like, all right, let's not enter into that anymore. There's room for other people, but it's a really great cause. It's a fundraiser as well as a music awards. So artists pay like $20-$30 to register for it, and then you take your platform to social media to have people vote for you, and then the whole community comes together and they give away the awards. But all the money that was paid from those registrations and sponsorships, they take that money and then they buy instruments and they give them back to schools and they help kids get into music. So it's a really great organization, and they do a lot of really great things. So it's something that's really awesome to have on the resume, but also really great to be a part of in the community.
Yeah, impactful, especially in the music world.
Yeah, and nurturing youth to pick up music, or even enabling them to get into something that maybe their school district or their household's financial position wouldn't allow them to. You know what I mean? So providing musical instruments,
sure.
In different scenarios.
Well, I know right now the Mauston School District is, you've seen that on Facebook. They turned down the referendum that the school board proposed for a new school because their classrooms are overcrowded. Well, they declined the referendum, and then they came up with a different version, and they declined that one. So they're like, okay, we're looking at dissolution of this school district, and maybe that's a threat, maybe it's not. I don't know what'll end up happening, but it sucks that when schools find themselves in a bind, they cut out the arts.
Well, even that though, like in Madison, there's schools that have separated from the Madison Metropolitan School District and just went independent.
Sure, they can do
Kennedy Elementary on the east side of Madison went completely independent.
Really?
From the Madison Metropolitan School District. And, like my kids went to Kennedy Elementary when it was part of MMSD.
Okay.
So like just seeing that, it's like, okay,
wow.
There's a lot of crazy change happening and and needed in the education system.
Yeah. They're sprinkled in here and there. But yeah, generally,
overcrowding in the classrooms is a big thing. Like we need to do more for our educators to empower them to be able to actually teach and build the youth, right? Like if they've got 35 kids for one teacher, that's too many. Like we need, 20 kids, 18 kids per teacher, right? So if we need a bigger school, different school districts, more rooms. I remember when we were in school, they put double wides next to the school, and we had extended classrooms. Like, did we like it, love it, hate it? I don't know. I mean, it was different.
Yeah.
But we still learned.
Right. Yeah. I didn't think much of it. And we had to walk out the door quick and get in the trailer, and
really only sucked in January, but
Yeah. But it was kind of nice. There was windows on both sides, and I don't know.
It was a different experience than being locked in the concrete building,
Yeah. I remember Idaho and I had a math class in there once. I don't know if you were in it or not, but we pretended to get in a fight. We weren't really like fighters per se, but we thought it would just be funny to
just put something on and
pretend,
right?
Just to piss
rile
off
the teacher up a little bit, get the kids talking.
So you've had the privilege of performing with some legends here. You have performed with 3-6 Mafia, Snoop Dogg, Warren G, Young Gravy, Baby Bash, Jordan Sparks, Cat DeLuna, Naughty by Nature, Big Sean, Cupid, and the Newsboys.
So, and the awesome thing about that is I've performed with way more people than that, but I've been the DJ for those guys. But that was all here in Wisconsin, mostly in Madison. But we had Cupid here in Reedsburg. We brought him to the Badger Theater, and everybody did the Cupid shuffle and hung out in a foam party, and it was kind of crazy.
So are these all mostly hip hop?
Pretty much, yeah. As far as performing with artists, hip hop is where I've done the majority of that. I play electronic music and stuff, and reggae and different stuff when I get booked. But as far as like concerts and stuff, it's primarily been hip hop. Performing for Snoop Dogg, I opened for him in Madison at the Orpheum Theater in 2010. Awesome. And it was like a massive snowstorm. It was the biggest snowstorm of the year, and his bus was like 90 minutes late to get there. So I'm stuck on stage. I was already like a 60 or 90 minute set to open for him, and he's not getting there. And they're just like, yeah, you got to keep going, but you can't play any of his music. Oh. And I'm like, all right, what am I doing? And, figure it out and make it happen. But then, they show up, and, Snoop's tears it down, and he's got Warren G with him and the Dog Pound. And I mean, it's basically like all of our childhood idols, minus Dr. Dre, and Lady of Rage, you know what I mean? But it was like all the Death Row All-Stars, Snoop and Warren and everybody right at the Orpheum Theater in Madison.
God. Yeah. What a special moment that was. Do you, so when that happened, like when Snoop showed up and all those guys showed up, do you participate in any of it, or do they have control all their own music?
So for that show, Snoop had his own DJ, and at that time it was kind of crazy. I learned that at that point Snoop was using a teleprompter, and I didn't have any clue at that point. But I'm on the stage, and it's elevated like probably 20 or 30 feet above the normal Orpheum stage. The Orpheum holds maybe 3,000 people, and they sold it out instantly. So anybody that had front row tickets, like in that general pit, like you really couldn't see anything because the stage was up like 20 feet.
Oh, okay.
But it was a really crazy night, and Snoop came out the minute they got there. Their people came up and kind of tapped me on the back, and they're like, hey, he's here, you got X amount of minutes, go for the big tracks now, get some people hyped up. And then he came out, they killed the lights, I came off the stage, his DJ came up, and they took over and did the show. And
using the same equipment you were using?
No, we actually all set up on a long table. So like I had my equipment here, then his DJ had his equipment there,
okay,
and then Dog Pound's DJ had another thing. So there's 3 DJ backlines set up. And
okay, so I don't know a whole lot about hip hop. So is that how that normally works? Is there's the artist or whoever's going to be rapping or singing?
The headliners will always have their own DJs usually, but sometimes they might just be coming out, and someone could be running it from backstage too.
Okay, that's cool. Is there a lot of impromptu that goes on in that world with like
there can
mix
be
on the fly, kind of just?
There can be, like some of these artists, like Baby Bash, like I performed with him at Taste of Madison, downtown Madison, Capitol Square, 200,000 people. He had special versions of his song already made, and we don't perform regularly together. but we did for this show and a few others. So I was given his music, earlier in the day, got a couple hours to listen to it. But it basically, the 4-minute songs that have a guest on them, they cut out the guest part so that it's just Baby Bash doing his song.
Sure.
And, that's what gets performed to. And, the impromptu parts are like, if he wants me to cut out the beat and, he's going to, sing a cappella or something like that. Or if I'm going to add in scratches and things like that, that's all at the DJ or my discretion. But
okay.
But it's cool to work with these guys and work with their manager and build relationships and, be able to, help their careers and follow them along too.
Sure. So if you mentored or worked alongside like new artists that are.
So, I mean, it's crazy because like some of the biggest artists in the world now, like I was working with them when they were nobodies.
Really?
Like Drake, 2010, 2009, he was like nobody, he's just putting out Best I Ever Had, but we're working with him and nobody knows who he is at this point. Like nothing had been out about him. You don't know him, you have no idea who these people are. So you're working with them, you're working in studios. You're like, hey, you got to cut these scripts. You got to do these things. We're going to email them to these people. And, next thing you know, 2 years later, 3 years later, 6 months later, they're the biggest thing on the planet.
He hit his run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally 4 months after we were cutting drops for DJs and radio stations for Drake, he's released Best I Ever Had. And, well, the rest is pretty much history from that point.
Very cool. What else did I want to mention here before we? You've been honored with plaques from Cardi B, Lil Baby, Def Jam, and Bruno Mars. Mm-hmm. Tell me about those. What is that?
A lot of that comes from the collaborations with working on the radio. A lot of them are meant for people that were involved in production on the song and whatnot, but I was more involved in the marketing and promotions and the awareness of these songs, working with Lil Baby, he released, 10 different songs over the course of 2 or 3 years, resulting in a little over like 10 billion streams or something like that. So his record label and him came together and they awarded some plaques to a few different DJs that were big pieces of that puzzle to help getting those numbers.
Okay. So it's like an expression of their gratitude. Thanks for being part of this story.
Right. I'm part of being the process of making it happen, not just, playing it on one of your radio stations, but I have a syndicated show that plays on 10 stations every week. And then I have my own show on 93.1 Jams, and I have other different platforms. So I'm not just helping these people on one platform. I'm helping these people across all the platforms.
Sure.
And, pushing their music out to a bigger, bolder audience, doing interviews with them, airing them on these platforms and pushing them out there and, being a part of making the records big.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Just like you go to the club and you're expecting the DJs, to set the vibe and whatnot. Well, when you go, turn on the radio, whatever genre it is, you're expecting the people that you're listening to be in tune with what's new and what's hot and what's out there. So to be able to, one-on-one work with these artists when they're putting out the songs, get the stories behind why they made them and what it really means to them, and then use that to convey their message out to the world on a bigger platform.
Yeah.
Like that's a cool opportunity.
Yeah. And that's awesome as a fan of any type of music, when you can hear an artist that you just are drawn to, whether it's someone you've loved for a long time or you're just getting to discover them, like to hear those stories on how and why the songs are made. And so it's funny to hear like the deep meaning behind some of them and the complete meaninglessness of
others.
Yeah.
And then, to build with them and, the next time they make a song, you're the first person they send it to. Sure. Or in the first, 10 people they send it to. Mm-hmm. Right. Or I'm on that blast of exclusive radio DJs that they know are going to get this done. So, Snoop makes new music, I'm going to get Snoop's music. When Baby Bash has new music, I'm going to get it from them directly. I don't have to wait for a record label. I don't have to go to the pool, and I don't have to go to Apple Music and look for it, right? Like they know that I'm going to get the job done, so they're going to get it to me before they release it publicly. Yeah. And then they're going to count on people like me to pump that up and make that release more viable.
How does the landscape of radio look like today differently from when you first started? Because I know personally, I don't listen to the radio anymore.
A lot of people don't. Yeah, there's a lot of subscription services and streaming and things like that. So,
but a lot of people do, right? Do you know how many?
well, I know. You know, I run 93.1 Jams in Madison, and at any given time during the day, there'd be 50 to 80,000 people listening to it.
Wow.
And you know, it's part of Midwest Family Broadcasting. We have 8 stations in our building, and you know, my tower is I think like 30,000 watts. It's probably a medium-sized tower, you know, and we have Magic 98 is our big station, and it can be heard almost all the way across the state. They've got like a 70 or 90,000 watt tower or something like that. Like they're a really big station. They can be heard by 150,000 people at any given time.
Okay.
You know, so you take that, and we got 94.1 JJO. We've got a Spanish station, La Movida. We got like 3 country stations, Q106, The Farm, and there's another one too. You know, I don't know all 8 stations, but you know, between all of those, you know, with there being 300 to 500,000 people in the Madison metropolitan area, we can reach all aspects of the community. So
several different genres.
Yeah, we're all in one building, so you can come in, you can be on the hip hop station, you can be on the rock station, you can go to the adult AC station, you can be, you know, on the Spanish station, and you know, we also have a full marketing department that builds websites and runs social media, sets up TV ads,
and that's what the whole building kind of serves all the stations in there.
So yeah, so you know, any radio station in itself, you know, it provides a public service to its community, right? It provides the music or the news, but in the greater aspect of things, once you come into not public radio but commercial radio, it's a for-profit business. It's a marketing agency, essentially, right? Like, you know, you have 80,000 listeners. What's the point of that? The point is you're finding businesses and causes and different things that really need to get their word out, and you know, you're getting money to put that out.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, I mean, it costs, before I get paid, it costs $2,300 a day just to turn the lights on and run 93.1 Jams.
That's just energy and space.
Just space, energy, the cost of music licensing, you know, the building, equipment, things like that. So before anybody gets paid, you know, you're talking $2,300 a day.
Wow.
You know, and then we got that across 8 stations. So you're $30,000-$40,000 a day to turn the lights on, you know, just to get it out there. And you know, that's music, the artist getting paid for their music getting played, you know, covering the cost of the electricity, FCC license, things like that, and that's just not even paying anybody.
Right. So how many? I mean, is radio? Like, do you have more listeners today than you did 10 years ago?
I would say, you know, listenership is probably down a little bit because there's more options.
All of the services and
there's different services. You also, you know, there's people that don't have cars, and if you think about it, some of radio, you know, like in the Madison area, you're either in a car listening to the radio or you're in a workplace. Even probably similar here in Reedsburg. You know, you're either going to be in a factory job that's playing a different radio station every day for different people, or you're in your car for a 20, 40, 50-minute commute to and from work.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the most traditional place that people are listening to radio. So beyond that, your radio station's project, your goal is to build a following, a fanship, just like the artist, right?
Yeah.
So we have 80,000 people that listen to our station, but we've got about 15,000 people that truly, really engage with us.
Okay.
They signed up for our email blasts, like, you know, they send us messages, like they, you know what I mean? So we've been able to figure out there's this many people listening, there's this many people engaged. Yeah. So we're not really worried about the 80,000 people like we worry about those 15,000 people. Sure. And we do our programming around the people that engage with us.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to move forward on. And then our metric is, how are we growing that?
Yeah.
You know, we were at 5,000 at one point. Now we're at 15,000. So, you know, can we speed that up? Can we make that bigger? And, you know, it also tells us, is the content that we're providing, you know, relevant to the people? Is it what they want to hear?
Yeah.
Does it help them? Does it benefit them?
Yeah. So you're looking at it more of like the community development angle instead of just the gross numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we don't look at the numbers essentially. I mean, at the end of the day, like whatever the numbers say, what matters is do you sell ads, right? Can you keep your doors open? So regardless of what those numbers say, we're good, we're bad, we're medium, we're still selling ads, and that's what matters. So the numbers, okay, they might matter. You know, that's sometimes, you know, they matter more than others, but it's the value to the community, right? Serve your community accordingly, and you'll profit accordingly. Like, you know, serve your community properly, you'll profit accordingly. And you know, and that's what we do, is we look to add value to the community. It's not always about making a dollar, it's about making a value, and we'll make the dollars along the way if we do that.
Yeah. If the value is there and your heart's and your
people
heart's
have
there.
to believe in you, right? So, you know, the thing that really worked for me, that helped me move up there, was separating myself, looking at what's everybody else here not doing, and what is it that people need. Everybody that worked at that station, you know, at the time, you know, this was like 2017, 2018 when I was doing this, everybody that was working at 93 and Jams was brought in from another market. They didn't live in Madison, they didn't live in Wisconsin. I was the only person on staff that lived in Wisconsin, and I've lived here my whole life. You know, it was a different thing. I was like, okay, these people are coming and going. What are they not doing? They're not connecting with the community. The one guy was coming on the air and just talking about how much he loved the other city he came from. You know, and I'm like, that's not helping any. You know, so I'm like, what are we not doing? We're not communicating with our people. We're not listening to the people. We're not engaging with the people. So, you know, I removed myself. I removed my feelings, and I was like, okay, we're playing black music. We're pandering to a black audience. We don't even have a Black History Month program. We've been on the air 15 years. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, what's the problem here? Okay, let's figure that out. So, you know, we put something together. I started a podcast to celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses, and we did a free feature. And, you know, now I'm creeping up on 100 episodes of that podcast, and we've you know, helped more than we've helped over 100 Black-owned businesses in the Madison area get known, get exposure, get learned about, and, you know, about 80 of those are still in business.
Okay, very cool.
You know, so that was kind of like a start.
Yeah, and the community is so valuable. When we here at Blake Matthews Mental Health Foundation, when someone applies for a wellness grant through us, one of the first things they do, or the next thing they do, is they come in and they have like a 1-hour onboard meeting with me or someone else, just to get to know them better. It takes about an hour, and we get to learn more about their background and their interests and the things that they have done throughout their life up to this point to work on their mental health. And then we introduce all these different sorts of therapies, practices, treatments, modalities, like, and it comes from everywhere. I mean, it can be something as simple as like sitting in nature to going to a conventional psychotherapist, to meditation coaching, yoga coaching, Reiki therapy, sound healing, kind of like the whole, like anything that might help somebody. We want to incorporate it as an option. So we maintain this pool of wellness partners. And then when someone comes in after their interview, we look at their answers and their interests and what they might be open to. And then we just connect some dots and issue them a Tin Man coin, which is our wellness grant. And then they go and complete those sessions. And then they're invited to come back in to share their story on the podcast. And then that's our impact results, right? That we can show the community.
Yeah.
But the first thing we do during that interview meeting is we fill out a holistic health wheel. Okay. And it's like a pizza cut up into 12 slices. And there's a word in each slice. And it's this holistic health pie is supposed to represent like the broad health of a human. Some of the categories are like creativity, social life, home environment, spirituality, home cooking, career, and there's a total of 12. But then they rate themselves on how they feel that piece of the pie fits into their life right now, if it's lacking or if it's really fulfilled. And they draw the circle towards the center if it needs work, and towards the outside of the circle if it is completely fulfilled. And then they connect the dots, and everyone has a unique shape. And one of the most common things that people are lacking is community.
Yeah.
And a social life, because especially with phones where we just get drawn inward and
just sit on it.
I mean, it can make an introvert even more introverted for sure.
Yeah, no, there's a gift and a curse with the cell phones and this mobile device generation. I feel like our generation was one of the last ones that was like out in the streets till the lights come on and whatnot, you know, like times are different. Like my kids are not us, you know, they're not doing the same things, and that creates different things. So you know, in learning about what you're doing here with Blake's Tin Man and what brought you to start this, you know, like it's really deep, it's really personal, and you know, using personal experiences to get over the trauma and sharing that with other people is something I've learned that helps me get through things. So that's just really bold, and I'm really proud of what you're doing, and happy to be a part of that process to help you and to help others.
Oh, well, thank you. And you nailed it on the head when you mentioned that you found like years ago when you started your toy drive where you raise 800 to 1,000 toys for kids each holiday season.
Well, yeah, we every holiday season I do a toy drive. It's called the Gifts of Christmas at Santa's Workshop, and we serve 800 to 1,000 kids. My biggest year was 1,100 kids. You could compare it to Toys for Tots, but it's not. I call it a community celebration because we're bringing people together, and the focus is on, you know, we're looking at families that are going through hardships, families living in cars, families that are homeless, single mothers working multiple jobs, families that have been disconnected. We've even had some refugee families that we've helped, but the core of it is I work with 20 or 30 different businesses, and FPC Live owns all the big venues in Madison, and they let me use the Sylvie, which is the biggest concert venue in Madison, and I turn it into a Christmas village for a day. And we bring families in. They come in, they can pick out 4 to 6 gifts per kid. They can get free books, and there's food, and there's Santa photos. Like you know, you're a father, I'm a father, we have kids. You can't go to get a Santa photo for less than $40 or $60 anywhere, and you don't even get an actual photo. You just get a text message, right?
Oh, really?
And like if you go to any of these mall services, like it's like $80, $100
wow,
to actually get.
I didn't know. I've never stood in one of those lines.
Yeah, but you know, there's some people that like to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're in a situation where you're like, I don't even know, like my kids aren't even going to get clothes, you know what I mean? Like that's not an option. So it's about bringing community together and bringing in businesses that believe in building community. So every kid comes, you know, the parents can come, they can bring the kid. They don't have to bring the kid. You know, if they bring a kid and they don't want the kid to see what they're picking out, we have a children's area. They can go, they can color, they do arts and crafts, they can hang out. Some people, you know, again, it's a big city, right? Where it's not about your religious beliefs or anything like that. Like whether you believe in Santa, don't believe in Santa, you're past it, you're still in it. We want to be accepting to everybody, right? It's about building community and bringing people together.
A good family day.
A big family day. And when you don't have a home, when you're living in a car, when you're living in a hotel, you know, you don't get those things, you know. So to be able to go somewhere and escape for a couple hours and be with your loved ones and have the things that you know, were aspiring to have but couldn't make happen, you know, like that's a huge thing. And, you know, to be able to do that for a lot of people and just, you know, have a lot of other people believe in that process as well. You know, they pick out the gifts, we wrap them. If they want them wrapped, they can all wrap, they can take them home, put them under the tree. You know, they get free books, they'll get the pictures, they'll get some food, and it's all free to them. So they come down, they pick it out, they go home with it, and, you know, they have a Christmas that they didn't have before.
That is so awesome that you're doing that. And you've done that for how many years now?
5 years through the radio station. And then, you know, it kind of started as a social media thing through a friend a few years before that.
Okay. So you're doing it again this year? Yeah,
I've already booked it for this year.
Sylvie again?
Yep, at the Sylvie. They're, you know, they're really amazing community partners. It's a beautiful event, man. You know, it takes about 200 people to pull off. It's a full day. We give out, last year it was $60,000 worth of toys, and about $20,000-$30,000 worth of donated goods and services.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to the community for free. Like I pull off this $100,000 event. I think my expense budget last year was $1,800.
Wow. So most of the stuff is donated anyway.
It's everything that comes in, it's donated or traded. And, like I just go all out. I mean, I spend 6, 8, 10 months putting it together.
So, so what's the $1,800?
Mostly banners and T-shirts and just little things that some food for volunteers, sponsor banners and things like that.
Yeah.
Little things that you just can't always trade away.
Yeah, or last minute you're like, oh yeah, I need this stuff. Don't have time to go get a sponsor for these last minute things. Or
yeah, or even you just have them, and like banners. Like they're not expensive, but they're not cheap either. Mm-hmm. And some your sponsors change every year, so you need different banners every year.
Yeah.
So like that's I think $500-$600 of that is a banner expense. $200 or $300 on food for volunteers, and I think I had to pay for a photographer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've run into there's certain companies that are so used to providing a service for different fundraisers that they're not going to be the ones to be like, oh yeah, we'll kick in the banners for this, because they're almost every other banner they print is for a fundraising event, and it's so yeah, you feel really lucky if you get like a T-shirt company to donate T-shirts or
even even doing them at cost, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's not that it's like not that we need a handout, right? Like I can pay the material cost or whatever, but it's like, what can you do? Like we're giving out everything we do for free. So
right.
Like if I got to pay for it, cool. But if not, like, can we trade this? Can we trade some radio time? Like what can we do?
Yeah.
To make this worth your while to help these kids.
Yeah. And it seems like the momentum, just as it continues to pick up and just get more known, over the years, I feel like there's more support that comes out, and
it's growing exponentially fast. I mean, it went from from conception to the first idea. It was 2 weeks we raised $12,000, right?
Wow.
Then the next year it was like 35,000. Then it was like 85,000. You know what I mean? And now we're kind of like stagnating at like $100,000 event, but that's still like that's really great.
Oh man,
that's still a really beautiful amount to stagnate at, right? But $100,000 in 2025 is not going as far as it did in 24 or 23, or going back any further. So like we need to continue, to battle that cost of rising inflation and making these opportunities happen.
It's crazy sometimes with
but what it does for these people, the families, the children, like for them, this is a mental health podcast, right? Like you bring people together on the holidays when they were least expecting help and expecting nobody to be there for them, and it can just that little act of realness can completely shift them.
Yeah.
And you multiply that times 400.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that's a really powerful thing, man. It really helps me to work through the things, that I'm going through, right? Help other people. Okay, well, what are you going through? And you'd be surprised that things suck for me, but it's way worse for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So okay, let's go through this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everyone has something to offer everyone else.
Everyone.
No matter what, because we're all have experienced our own different versions of trauma. And we can look at someone else and be like, I shouldn't feel bad because look at what they just had to go through. But like, no, our trauma is our trauma, or our experiences are our experiences. They've shaped us how they have.
And they're not the same for anyone else,
No.
right? So like, just because this is how I feel doesn't mean this is how you or anyone else should feel, right? So like, we got to take a minute to just step back and realize like, hey, someone else is going through just as much as we are, right? Like we're all carrying our own weights, our own issues, our own problems, and if people just take a second to let them breathe,
be heard
out,
a lot of times,
even if you can't do something, you can let them speak,
right? You can listen. A lot of times that's all.
A safe space is a lot more than people realize.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier than people realize.
Right. True. It's the reason why we were born with 2 eyes and 2 ears and only one mouth, right?
Right.
So I was going to ask you what originally drew you to music, but you mentioned that you grew up in a really musical household, which I didn't know. Your grandpa was a quartet barbershop guy.
Yeah. My grandfather was a quartet barbershop singer. His wife played piano. My dad, he's plays guitar, he plays bass, he sings. With his 4 brothers between them, they play like 50 some instruments. So growing up, they had at the time when I was a kid, they were doing like Christian music. They were performing in churches and whatnot. But prior to me being born, they when they were kids, they put out 12-inch records and were opening for like the Allman Brothers and like the Doobie Brothers and stuff. So like my dad's got these 12-inch records of him and my uncles on the cover, and they're all kids. Like, I mean, they're like my kids' age, you know what I mean? And I mean, they're just doing it, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the 70s. It was crazy.
That is so cool.
It was cool stuff. And but for me, it was I don't like to sing, and I didn't like to play guitar. I don't even the sound of the guitar wasn't really my thing, but they always were like, music's always around. Family Christmas, like the brothers are always singing, family get-togethers. It's always about music. And so it's been kind of there forever. And they pushed me to sing and be in the family band, and I'm like, yeah, that's not me, and they're like, well, you got to do something. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can be the sound guy. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have the option to just not do this, right? Like, everybody's like, you're doing this.
Yeah.
And all my other cousins too. And most of them enjoyed it. Most of them didn't really push back, but it wasn't really my thing.
Sure, but you found your thing in music for sure.
I did. It took a long time, but like I didn't mind running sound. It was a cool place to learn and learn about things. But it's really it's super crazy because I started with the family church stuff, right? But when that stuff wasn't happening, the brothers are all spread apart. But we were living here in Reedsburg. My dad had other things happening. He was working with this group, Danny Dean and the Cadillac Cowboys in Madison County, and these different bands. I think some of them might still be out there. But I was tagging along on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, running sound, as a 8-year-old, 10-year-old kid, running sound in the Dells, Showboat, the Chalet Lanes, just different places in there. You know what I mean? I'm like 10 years old in the bar, twisting knobs on, controlling the microphones and guitars.
Yeah.
To now be, 2-3 decades later, like I'm at the Showboat every weekend.
Are you really?
Yeah. Like I've been the resident DJ there for 10 years now.
I mean, I don't
every
get
Saturday.
out
You
much.
don't have to, but
now I'm going to.
It's just really crazy how like music for me started there, and I've gone on and done all these really awesome things, and now I'm still back here where it all began.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you, you mentioned when you got here that you hadn't been to Reedsburg since the movie theater used to be on the corner, which they just tore down, I think.
The Badger Theater's still there.
Oh, the Badger Theater.
But this big one is over here. The last time I was in Reedsburg, I was either here, one of our high school friends, Rob, has a tattoo shop, Victim Tattoo, and he did a bunch of tattoos for me over the years. But I think the last time I was here was when we did an extreme foam party at the Badger Theater and brought Cupid to do the Cupid Shuffle.
Okay.
Yeah. I get around. It's for me, leaving Reedsburg was like a bittersweet thing. Like, like I grew up here. Like I made most of my core memories here, a lot of core friends here, but I also got into a lot of trouble. I had a lot of negativity here. So when I left here, I didn't want to come back.
Sure.
And I didn't, I kept getting pushed back. Right. But like, I think Ron Camp, Ron got me to come back, and I still have friends that I would stay in touch with, but like I was on probation here, and I had lots of bad experiences, and getting out was the best thing that happened to me. So I was like, I didn't want to put myself back in that situation.
I get that. Like a fresh mindset or a clean break type of starting over.
And I don't know, like for a long time, I really avoided coming back here. I just broke clean with it. And, then I don't know, somewhere 2008, 2010, somewhere in there, I started connecting with the Extreme Foam Party Company, who was actually based out of Reedsburg.
Really?
And it's just like all these things from Reedsburg kept coming back to me. And I was like, I got to get past that. I got to move on. I have to let go of these things and essentially go home.
Sure.
I mean, it's my parents, when I left here, like neither of my parents lived here. I was living here on my own and in a whole world of trouble, not making the best decisions and whatnot. So there wasn't anything here other than my friends.
Yeah.
But my friends have always been more for me than family, and not in a bad way, but it's just what it is.
Yeah.
So it was, when you're like, let's talk about mental health. I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, I got married and my wife is the best thing that ever happened to me, right? I have 2 beautiful children, and, but she also makes me deal with this shit. Like, she makes me deal with my mental health.
Yeah.
And, I probably should have a lot sooner.
Sure. Well, same here, but it's all right. Everything comes in perfect divine
it comes
timing.
when it's supposed to, right?
What would you say are some of the biggest mental health struggles that DJs, musicians, and entertainers face that those of us not in that industry might not see or know about?
Well, I mean, the amount of time you spend on your own, solidarity, like you're by yourself a ton, even when you're supposed to be the life of the party and whatnot. It's like nobody wants a DJ on Tuesday or Thursday. It's Friday, it's Saturday. I'll do 3 gigs on Saturdays sometimes 2 on Fridays. Like between Friday and Saturday, I can put in a 40-hour work week just over 2 days. You know what I mean? Like, so, you end up with a lot of alone time. You end up taking away from your family on nights, weekends, and holidays. And then, you deal with just tons of gaslighting, tons of just crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
gaslighting is like with artists that maybe are living in their egos too much. Or?
It could be artists. It could be venues. It could be promoters. It can. It could be anybody, really. I mean, at the end of the day, like, even just on the radio side of things, I'm on the radio for close to 1 million people a week in 11 cities across the country. And, like, they all have social media, they all have phones, they all have exorbitant free time. So, somebody gets caught up on something, like, they're going to go down a rabbit hole, like, they're going to find you. You know what I mean? Like, if they want to get hell-bent on giving you a bad day, like...
So I'm sure that, like, if you read those, it's like you would tell yourself, don't take it personal or whatever, but maybe sometimes you can't help it. But if you found yourself just finding a way to detach from those shitty comments,
at the end of the day, like, I don't worry about the comments. There was a point, where you had to, deal with it and whatnot. But at this point, it's like, for me, social media is part of the job. It's never been something that I liked. It was something I had to do.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't a DJ, I probably wouldn't have social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out here liking everybody's stuff and dropping comments all day. Like, I'm out creating content so that other people can post content all day, so it's more exhausting.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, people will come at you that just want you to stop what you're doing, to stop your job, to stop your momentum, to do something for them with no intention of being a customer of you, of your employer, or anything. They just want you to create something for them that they can go out and get clicks and likes and do something with. Sure. And that has an annoyance, to it too.
Yeah. But you think a lot of the mental health struggles or issues that music DJs, entertainers have is a lot tied to the fact that they're just, like you alluded to, solitude or just kind of being a loner.
The solitude is there. Alcohol, drugs, sex. All of these things, man, are just like really crazy. Like, as a DJ, the first few years that I did it, like, some places would try to just pay me in alcohol, and they'd just be like, "Hey, you want to come play some music, and we'll give you a free bar tab." And it's like, I don't know. Some people, maybe that works. I don't know. For me, I personally, I stopped drinking in 2008. I went to a completely non-alcoholic lifestyle, and that in itself has a whole nother challenge when you're entertaining people that are just inebriated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And like, you have to like woosah a little bit and take a step back, because, at the end of the day, like, as an entertainer, you don't, and it's not even just DJs, this is entertainers in general, you don't see people on their average day. You see them on emotional highs and emotional lows. You don't see them on their average. You know what I mean? So, you're not seeing the average person, you see extremes, and you get a lot of that, and then you multiply that out, you know what I mean? So, and then you add alcohol to it, or drugs, both.
Yeah. Amplifies. Crazy. And
it amplifies all of it, man. And I've been married 15 years now. I've been a DJ for 24, and you know, I mean, even in that, like my wife, when we first met, like she didn't understand what it was that I do. Like, why are people paying you? What is it that you do? And honestly, that was the best part about our relationship. You know, that's what really drew me to her, is like I spent a lot of time doing this, right? I realized I don't want to date women I'm entertaining. I don't want to date people that know who I am. And then I just meet this wonderful person who has no idea who DJ Fusion is, no idea who Shay is. And I'm like, oh.
And that was awesome.
And that was just like, wow, this is really great. Like, I can just be me.
Yeah. You don't have to bring your work home.
I don't have to do that. And that really changed my life a ton. And I couldn't be more grateful. You know what I mean? Like, that's a beautiful thing.
So, oh wait, was that, God, how many, is that 15 years ago?
We were married in 2011. I think we met somewhere between 2008, 2010. And like the first time we met each other, I was opening for Bone Thugs and Harmony at the Majestic Theater. And she came to the concert after, and she watched me open. And then we hung out and watched Bone Thugs. And, you know, since she left with her friend, and I went home, and, you know, it kind of grew from there. You know, it was cool.
Okay. Very cool. So what has not drinking alcohol done for your mental health?
Oh man, nothing but improvements. Honestly, you know, mental health, I really didn't even think about it in that capacity at first. I looked at it at first, I was as a financial thing. I was like, wait a minute, my income like more than doubled the year that I quit drinking. And it's, you know, I started to think about like why. Like, okay, I'm not like shitty hungover. I'm not out here making stupid bad decisions. You know, when the event ends, I'm not at the after bar unless I'm being paid to be at the after bar. Yeah. You know what I mean? And, you know, so I'm not losing all that extra time on Sunday, Monday, recovering, or if I got a Wednesday night show, I'm not losing Thursday recovering, or right now, you know, making responsible decisions. Right. But at the same time, like, you know, there's pressure. There's people that don't understand, that you don't want to drink, that I don't drink alcohol. Doesn't do anything for me. It actually kind of makes me want to throw up. I'm like, I don't want this, you know. So people get offended with that.
Still, and you find that still?
I find it a little more accepting in 2025, but you know, in 2015, like people were just like mind blown. They're like, you're gonna be the party and you're not gonna drink, and I'm like, I don't need to drink. Honestly, it's gonna be more of a problem. Your party's gonna be better if I don't drink.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So. But in the long game, you know, it raised my income, it raised my stability, it raised my reputation, in positive ways, right? So all of that affects your mental health. It affects your stride, you know, your composure, how you're going to hold yourself. And, you know, so it took me a while to kind of realize all of those things. But the first sign was like, hey, I have more money. I have more money in my bank account. And I'm enjoying Sundays and Mondays instead of like just laying around.
Yeah, more probably more reliable to your customers.
Yeah,
and just more energy.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I'm really blessed to have a fully creative lifestyle, right? Like I do the DJing, but it's multifaceted, right? Like the turntablism and the mobile events, like that's what I love, and that's what really pays the bills. But radio is another avenue to make money, and then, you know, freelance music projects that come with it too, you know. So then I also do video production and shoot some stuff and make commercials and do graphic design and stuff too. So I just can really like fully be a creative for the last 20 years, and adding in the tools that come with radio, you know, like they're a full-on marketing agency, right? And I took all of the stuff that I did as a DJ, like I had to like really use like 90s grassroots marketing tactics to like really make myself a good, well-known DJ, right? So you take that, and then you take the tools that the radio station has and all these video production stuff, and it's like, you know, like I can come to somebody and I can shoot the commercial, we can green screen it, we can script it, we can make a billboard, we can run a social media website, like the whole thing, you
producer
know what I mean?
On many different levels,
on full different things, you know what I mean? So like the ability to come in and be like an outside consultant from different angles, you know what I mean? Like that's been like really cool too.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned being an introvert in an extroverted profession. How do you balance the energy it takes to perform with the need to recharge? And before you answer, like, this is just like what you said with this solitude thing, being stuck at home, maybe not having work to do when everyone else is working, or being stuck working when everyone else is at home. I feel like that's a good recipe to maybe set the stage for not giving back to yourself.
It took me a long time to give back to myself, and I still struggle with that. The solitude isn't sitting home, right? Okay, like the height of when I traveled before I had kids, in 2013 I had my first child, and that's when my wife was like, you gotta be here, this can't happen. Before that, I that's what brought an end to my Sirius XM show and things like that, because I had to go to New York, I had to be there. And so I'd fly out on a Wednesday, and I'd fly into New York, and I'd drive up to Rochester and DJ a strip club, and then come back to New York on Friday, do a radio show, go do a club on Manhattan that night, and then Saturday be out in the Bronx doing a different show, right? But all this time between all these different places, I'm by myself, right? I'm on Madison to LaGuardia by myself, LaGuardia into Manhattan to get a rental, head up. I'm on my own. Like, you're by yourself all these different times, and you can take people with you, but it costs extra money. You're losing money at that point, and it just doesn't always. It's not always in the cards, right? So you're doing all of these different things, but I'd be gone for 2 weeks,
like a truck driver.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And it's it's cool. It's all right for me. I'm having a good time, but like my partner's home, wondering what I'm up to, what I'm doing. It's 2 a.m. She's wondering, well, what am I actually doing right now? Well, I'm DJing, in New York. You know what I mean? Like 15 states from home, 15,000 miles.
Yeah.
Whatever. There's a whole lot of extra that comes with that, but like you're out by yourself this whole time, and then you have to come from immediately getting off an airplane to coming into a club and be the life of the party at the snap of a finger. You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of people lose it. That's like people rely to alcohol, rely to drugs, rely to different vices to help them get out there, and, for me, breaking from alcohol helped that a lot. That was a huge thing. But the solitude is the biggest killer. Like that time that you're by yourself, it just picks at you. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be home with your wife and your kids. You want to be there having these moments, not missing these moments. But this is also, the path I chose, the passion that I pursue.
Yeah. And sometimes that solitude can be like, a time to look inward, but then there's different ways to look inward, right? We can look within and then be graceful and not judgmental with ourselves, or we can look in and be hard on ourselves or feel guilty or just living in the past or like kind of rehearsing for the future. And so if you found any practices that have helped you, like with your just being present in the moment, or
for me, it's like a mental preparation, right? Like I know I'm going to do 5 gigs this upcoming weekend. On Wednesday night, I start disconnecting, shutting my phone off, turning off the social media, like I'm only getting in there if something for work is required. And, I spend a lot of time. I'm a big animal person. I've kind of always been. I've got 2 dogs. I got 3 cats. I got, a lot of fish, like the little ecosystems, like that. Yeah. That's my thing, right? So I just disconnect. I spend that time with my kids. I spend that time with my wife. I try not to be doing the work stuff because I know that, the biggest challenge that I face is drunk people, right? Like I want to leave with everything I came with. I'm bringing $10,000 worth of stuff here. I want to leave with that, and I just, I want to make you have a good experience, and I want to leave with everything I came with, and I want to get paid. And if some drunk person decides they're going to pour a drink on my laptop or on my equipment, that costs more than what I'm getting paid that night. And most of those venues aren't going to do anything about that.
So that's happened.
Oh, it's happened multiple times, especially in this digital age of DJing, like people come up and, lap your computer, try to point at it, grab it. I've had people try to steal my hard drives, things like that. All kinds of crazy stuff, and they're just like, well, I'm drunk. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, like I rely on this to make $100,000 a year. Like it's not just a hard drive. Like this is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you learn some different things, but you know, I mean, the mental preparation is disconnection, prior to and post.
Sure. So
You know?
you have like a pre-busy weekend ritual that you do to disconnect from technology, but to connect with your family, get your head
I
cleared.
connect with the family. I spend some time, you know, like if I'm doing like this upcoming weekend, I'll be doing a ton of hip hop related stuff. So I'll probably take Thursday night and like I'll just sit down and I'll DJ house music for 2 or 3 hours for me. Just do me,
Yeah.
my therapy session, right? This is for me. And I get that out. So when I come out Friday and Saturday and Sunday and people are relying on me, I'm not putting my personal infliction into it, right? I'm putting, you know, my professional.
Yeah. You filled your cup,
intuition
you're ready
into-
to pour.
You know, fill my cup and then go fill everybody else's cup. And sometimes that is going to mean a disconnection, and I go and just lock myself in my studio and do what I need to do. Sometimes it means I'm going to take my dogs and I'm going to go to the park and sit there for 4 or 6 hours and just veg. I don't know. You know, I mean, it's a little bit different, but it's a disconnection, and, you know, it's kind of different every week, but it's about removing myself from the public, giving myself the ability to focus on me, my family, what those needs are, and, you know, just come in with a clean slate, clean mind.
Yeah. That's awesome. You've acquired the awareness of knowing like what it means to give back to yourself and to give time to yourself and to prepare yourself for what could be a taxing weekend, but you're getting your mind ready for it.
It's really, it was learning that it's okay to have boundaries,
Yeah.
and that it's okay to tell people you have boundaries and then hold them.
Yeah.
You know, and that took a long time for me to be okay with.
Yeah.
For a long time, I was just like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll help you. You know, I wouldn't protect myself.
Learning how to say no.
Learning how to say, and I still struggle with saying no, right? Because I want to give, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's just, I know that, you know, giving back helps me, right? But I don't always have to give back. Like, sometimes saying no and protecting my personal space is what I have to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Learning how to say no is it can be uncomfortable. It's odd.
It's
to think about
extremely
that.
uncomfortable to think about, right? But the first time you do it, it's a little uncomfortable. But, you know, after you do it, now you've done it, right? So you know what the uncomfortableness is, and you've seen how people are going to take it. So I know I'm telling you something you don't want to hear. I can do it like a jerk, or I can take a little bit of time and just be like, okay, you know, this is what you need, but this doesn't work for me. My boundaries are in this realm, and, you know, if we're going to work on this, we're over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people can take it, some people can't. And but, you know, just learning that it's okay to set those boundaries and hold them.
Yeah. And that
important.
discomfort fades over time as you practice saying no,
Absolutely.
doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Right? And then, you know, you're just like, it feels good to be, you know, standing in your own two shoes with your own boundaries, your own
Yeah.
rules. Yeah. That's,
Yeah, I mean, and once I got past that, man, like the last 10, 15 years have been awesome. Right. But like, you know, there was definitely like that uncomfortable stage. Like there was a time where I was trying to give up drinking, but, you know, still being peer pressured into it. But, you know, I had to really just draw that line, you know what I mean? And stand on it.
yeah.
Just because you need to get drunk doesn't mean I need to get drunk.
Yeah. Right. And then like in my own journey with alcohol, I've gotten to these points in my life where I was drinking too much, and then I would be like, after last night, I've got to stop. No more, you know, and then I would do that for a week or two, or maybe, and then it would just always cycle back to, oh, okay, I think I'm ready now.
I'm ready,
I'm just
yeah.
gonna have one or two, you know, and then I don't know, 6 months would go by and things would get out of hand, and it would be more of a habit and more of a part of my ritual than I wanted or recognized was healthy for me. And it was just recently, it was last October, I got to a point after I started practicing this 5-minute meditation every morning.
Okay.
And I also did breath work. So it was really intense breath work. So it's sometimes I'm like, I give the credit to the breath work. Sometimes I give the credit to the meditation. It could have been a combination of the both. But I realized one day I came home from my office and pulled in my garage, and I have the little beer fridge in my garage with the glass window on it, and I can see the beers that are in the fridge.
All right.
And normally it was like clockwork. Every day I would get home and my eyes would look at that fridge, my mouth would start to water. I wanted a beer. Well, all of a sudden I realized it's like a Thursday, and I pull in my garage and I'm like, holy shit, I haven't even looked at my beer fridge all week. It's been 4 days.
That's kind of dope, though.
What's wrong? Like, it was a weird experience because it wasn't me getting to a point where I said, I'm not going to let myself drink. Because on those times or days, I would then find myself in a situation where there was social drinking going on, but I was in a mode where I was telling myself not to, but it was difficult because I was like, I wanted to, but I was standing my ground on the promise I made to myself, but it was a struggle. But then after that happened on that Thursday, I realized, like, holy shit, it is a way different thing to not have the want to drink than it is
The need.
not wanting to drink.
Yeah,
You know, like this, you could use the same words, phrasing it differently. Like, does the alcohol have a relationship with me, or do I have a relationship with it? That was, and since then, it's not that I have totally stopped drinking, but I have completely removed my fixation to it, or my using it as a crutch or an excuse or a relaxation technique.
Yeah, because if you crutch on that, like, you're not really addressing the issue, right? Like, I mean, like, I don't drink, right? But I still really love cannabis, but you can't use that as a disconnection, right? Like, there's a time, there's a place, but like, if you're not right here, that's not going to be the right thing for you. That's not an escape, right? Like, there's a purpose for that, but you've got to be able to first really deal with you,
Right.
and then come back for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Looking
And-
at it as a sacred medicine almost. Or like
Yeah, I mean, respecting what it is. I mean, even with alcohol, like, I'm not saying that it's wrong for people to drink, right? It's not right for me. Could be right for you. Might be too much for you. But there's a happy medium, right? There's a time and there's a place. There's doctors that say a glass of wine a day has got this benefit for you, right? Okay, can't argue. Don't want to argue. But I don't want to. But I don't want to do it either.
Right.
You know, so
There's so many ways to look. Like, coffee's good. No, coffee's bad. You know.
But all of the things that I've done through, you know, quitting drinking, you know, becoming an on-air radio personality, like, all these things, like, help my mental state in a big way. But when I really took and separated myself from what I was doing and made it about the greater good of other people, that's what helped me the most. Starting at the toy drive, like starting the backpack drive, doing, you know, working with the American Family Children's Hospital, doing a radiothon for them, you know, every year that raises $500,000, like, you know, like all these different things. Like, we have a children's hospital here in Wisconsin, in Madison. It's one of like 8 in the country that they do child cancer research and care, and it's completely free for a family. Like, you can't go to the Reedsburg Area Medical Center and get a free treatment. You can't go to St. Mary's in Madison. Like, we have this hospital here that does hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of free treatments for kids. And, you know, like, it's one of like 8 in the nation.
What's the name of it?
The American Family Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a cancer research center, but it's a children's cancer center in Madison. And any family that is welcomed into this hospital receives no bill.
Oh.
There's no bill. It's free child care. It's free health care. And the kids that go in there, like, you can receive care up to like 18 years old or something like that, you know, like, while you're living on your parents' insurance and whatnot. So it's this really incredible hospital, but it's publicly funded, right? If they don't raise money, if they don't, you know, they're not federally funded. So, you know, like, they do all this stuff for free. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars for one child cancer care treatment, right? So, you know, our radio stations work with them, and we do a radiothon every year, and they bring in families and we talk about their experiences. A lot of them are similar to what you've gone through. You know, they've lost a child, much younger, much different circumstances, but they're using the trauma that they had to go through, not only to help themselves, but to help that hospital continue to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we'll interview people that their 4-year-old kid is in the hospital on life support and cancer, on a level 4 cancer treatment, or 2 years ago, their child passed away from cancer, never made it to 10, never made it to 5, never made it to some of the things that you got to have, right? And so then you have to, you know, work with them and tell their story live on the radio for 100,000 people, for 80,000 people, and really, like, pull out of them, what they're going through, how they got through it, what it means to them to have that hospital and that resource here.
Yeah, that's got to be so huge for the family who has a child in the hospital who maybe stage 4, like small chance of making it, for them to hear from a set of parents or a mom or a dad who lost their child 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's like
Providing strength and stability.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it is those families, they never knew that they were going to need that, right? It wasn't like, oh, hey, we're, when Johnny turns 5, we're going to go to the cancer hospital, right? Like it is, one day something happens, somebody falls out of a tree, hits their head on a rock, they get taken to a hospital. The hospital says this is much bigger than what we can handle. And the next thing you know, you're at the American Family Children's Hospital and your life's upside down. You're living there. You're giving up your home, your job, the things that you have because your heart is your child is in this hospital hundreds of miles from home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hard. That's when you need community the most. And back to what you were saying about helping others to help ourselves. It is amazing that if you remove yourself, like you were saying, or take your ego out of it, or your own belief systems, your own concepts and ideas and what you think is going to, remove yourself from the picture, look at the bigger picture, the community, and then realizing that, like, when we put ourselves out there to give, to help others, it's, we're not the individuals that we think we are, like all this one energy ball.
No.
And so you give to someone else or just listen to someone else and you're helping them. But at the same time, there's something that happens, there's a twinkle or something that happens inside us when you give that. And you don't even, it's hard to even put your finger on exactly what it is.
When you open yourself up to giving, you're opening yourself up to receiving.
Yeah.
Right. And you can take that as deep or as light as you want. But even in teaching somebody else, you could know how to build these tables, right? But let's say a kid wants to learn how to do it. You got to teach them how to cut the boards, where they're going to find the boards, right? How they're going to cut the boards, how they're going to put them together, where are we going to get these different things? And like, yeah, you know how to do this. You spent, X amount of years, 15 years doing this. You've done thousands of them, right? But you're still going to learn something.
Right.
Because that person thinks differently, because times are different from multiple different things. Like when you take the time to open yourself up, to be vulnerable and allow you to share, you allow yourself to give and receive, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the best moments I've had as a DJ wasn't performing. It was in teaching. It was in teaching other kids. Like I used to run after school programs in Madison and teach kids how to, first use a turntable, what music theory is, and, teach them how to mix a little bit. And, then these kids have gone out into the world, and some of them have become DJs that have surpassed what I've done. And some of them, I performed with one of them at Taste of Madison last year, right? But like taking that time, like the time that I taught James how to use a turntable, like I thought I already knew everything about it. But now, like I'm learning more on a deeper level, like taking further understanding, right? You know what I mean? So taking that time to give made me able to receive something I never thought I was looking for.
Yeah.
And that opened a door. And, and when I took that same path for radio, it just changed everything for me, right? Like my toy drive has become so much more than me. It's not me. I've given myself to gifts of Christmas, right? Like that helps 1,000 kids, 400 families every year have a Christmas, right? Like I get done with that, man. And like, it's like a week or two before Christmas, but like, I cry for like 2 days.
You're on a high.
You know what I mean? I'm just on this high. It's a happy cry, right?
Yeah.
It's a fulfilling cry, right? And it's a point, like I don't need to disconnect like I do after I have a really taxing DJ weekend. Like I can kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of less introverted, more extroverted because of that natural high, right? It's a different plane, and you chase that dopamine like you chase everything else, right? Like I can't wait for Christmas this year because of what it does for me.
Yeah, it's going to transcend you or transform you up another level, and
every time. And there's always different roadblocks and different challenges. And I mean, I'm giving away $100,000 worth of stuff. I mean, I've had to like not publicize the date for the safety of the people that volunteer their time to give back. And so I mean, it's like there's a need for kind people. There's a need for people to take care of their mental selves and to give back. But there's also a need that people need to set their boundaries and kind of stand within them too.
Yeah. Speaking of boundaries, you had to deal with a stalker.
Man,
do you want to talk about that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I can. It's a different situation. It's not a, you hear the word stalker, you think sexual thing, right? It's not my situation, not the case. It's a mental health thing, right? I mean, I think it's appropriate to talk about because of what your podcast is, right? It's a mental health thing, though. So an individual is mentally unstable. I've learned more about them than I care to know. There's somebody that I'm not friends with. Like I know who they are. They know who I am, is in passing per se. But this individual made some poor choices and was a felon and served his time, did what he had to do, legally, but not mentally. And I mean, he's got some children. His mother's the legal guardian of the children. There's issues there, but he wants a pardon from the governor and he wants to not be a felon. Okay, I can get that, but I can't do anything about that for you. So, he wanted me to put him on the radio and talk about this and make it a big thing. And I'm just like, yeah,
he became fixed on it.
He became really fixated on it. And, then it started going after my wife and my kids and like getting like way too into it. Right. And there's a huge mental thing with that. And, I mean, I run a radio station too. And when if I wouldn't bring him on, anybody that I brought on, he was sending them letters, sending them social media posts. Like he was bulk mailing the radio station. He found a company directory and he wrote a terrible letter. I mean, it looked like a fifth grader wrote it. You couldn't even read it essentially, but like he sent it out, photocopied it like 50, 60 times and sent it to everybody in the building. And, and did that a couple of times over. He'd come to the building, in the pandemic and pound on the doors and demand to be let in. We're in the middle of national stay-home orders. There's nobody even there. You know what I mean? So, like, it's crazy that, people feel like they need help and, feel like that maybe my voice and my reach can help them. But it's like, that's not the purpose of what I'm up here for. You know what I mean? Like, I can't go and get you a pardon because you feel you deserve one, and then come to find out, well, he's applied 3 times and been denied every time. Well, okay, now I'm just like your scapegoat or something.
Yeah, he thought you were going to be his savior for his voice or whatever to free him.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, over 100 people were like getting subpoenaed to come to court for something they knew nothing about.
So did you get a restraining order?
I did, and it took a while, and even in that there was like blowback. You know what I mean? So like, just there's even in that, I mean, a restraining order doesn't do a whole lot for you other than create a document of the situation, right? Like, yeah, you can call some police and they can, come and remove somebody. Maybe they can do something post fact, but like there still leaves situations where, you have to call them and do something about that. And the whole point of filing for that is to prevent that. And, so I don't know. I don't think that system's perfect, but, after, dealing with it as a man in a non-sexual situation, like I can't even imagine what females and some of the more standard cases are like. I mean, mental health is a real thing that people need to deal with. You shouldn't be 45 years old out here using the public system to harass people, into, to supporting your cause or, doing your work, right? Like you've got to put in your work. You have to get in here and he's got
to want it, right?
Yeah.
He would have to want that change.
And I mean, that's the actions, the proofs are in the actions. Like, I don't think he wants that change. I think he wants attention. And I'm not the person to be that attention.
Is it over or not?
It's never over. You know what I mean? Like things like that become permanent. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the middle of a 4-year restraining order that'll likely get extended. You know, I mean, he's still continually harassing the judge that issued the restraining order. And I'm just like, man, like this, it doesn't end. You know, I mean, it cost my employer about $60,000. It's cost me a couple $1,000s. You know what I mean? It's like, all I did was say, no, I can't help you. And that wasn't acceptable to you. And now you're just trying to like get me fired, ruin my life, do different things. And, you know, there's a whole just emotional whirlwind, you know, like, I mean, you can literally look at my social media and probably pinpoint when it started, you know, just in seeing the difference in the posts and different things like that. You know what I mean? Like I really went back into my introverted self when this happened and really kind of shut down a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I'm at this point now trying to be like, okay, you don't have to hide from this. You can be you. Right. And I'm still facing that and trying to pull myself out of that because it affects everybody in my life. It's not just me. It's not just my wife or my kids. It becomes everyone that becomes a potential client, acquaintance, or whatever. You know what I mean? So there's a huge mental whirlwind with that it's just,
that can be terrifying to be on the receiving end of that.
It is, you know what I mean? And, you know, I have a really great wife who helps me with a lot of, you know, with that. And, you know, I mean, just stepping up to dealing with my own past, you know, and not letting that be something that, you know, contributes to it, you know, makes a big difference. You know what I mean? So dealing with the issues, dealing with, you know, things in the past, not letting that be something that continues to hold me in the future. You know, that helps me to really deal with that too, even as silly as it probably sounds, coming here today. You know, like I intentionally left Reedsburg with a desire to not come back. And I still love a lot of people here. I still talk to them on a regular, but I don't come here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm glad you did today.
And but I want to, you know what I mean? Like I want to, but I need to let go of all of the stigma and anxiety that I had from leaving here.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're doing
trying to, you know, I'm trying to, you know what I mean? It's definitely, it was easier to come now than it was, you know, in 2008.
I feel like this stalker guy is going to fade. I mean, how much energy could he really pour into that? I mean, there's got to be an end to it.
You would hope there's an end to it. I mean, unfortunately, I'm probably the lowest profile person on the totem pole, but there's other people that he's going after too. And, I hope it'll fade away. I hope he finds someone else to fixate on. Ultimately, I hope he'll go work on himself.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen, and I can't control that.
Yeah. I guess you never know when the light switch might flip on for him. Or
no, but the scary thing is, I mean, these are the type of situations, you know, it's you know, my wife is rightfully justified to be afraid that he might show up to our home, armed or unarmed, in any fashion. He went out of his way to find an unlisted address and get to us, you know, and intentionally mail her, not me. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, these little quirky things, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, like he knows what he's doing and he's pushing the boundaries and he's doing it using the system. Like he's indigent. He lives on Section 8 and EBT. So he doesn't even have to spend any money to sue me, essentially. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, so he does that with all kinds of people. And, you know, it's like, hey, man, go work on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be so hard to come to that point of forgiveness or understanding with someone like that when you are, or you're in a group of people who are like the targets. Because it feels, I mean, how do you not take that personal?
And then they see you helping other people. And, you know, it's like, okay, man, it's not that it's not that I don't want to help you, right? You know, but I don't have anything to do with this. Like you're seeking a pardon. The only people that can help you in that is the victim and a judge. If the victim still have restraining orders against you, like there's nothing I'm going to do to help that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Again, you know, they got to work on themselves, but it's caused me to have to like work on me.
Sure. Yeah. So then maybe that's the silver lining in it somehow.
That's what I'm trying to see is the silver lining in it. Because again, like I don't have any ill will, feelings, or anything for this person, but I also don't, you know, like I don't have a problem, right? Like you want to be whatever for a career, be that. Go do it, but it doesn't involve me, right? Like you want to be a not be a felon. That's cool, great. I don't want to be one either, but I can't help you with that, right? You've got to do that.
Yeah, you're knocking on the wrong door.
Yeah, all the things that this person's knocking on my door for are things that they need to take the time to actually address their own mental health, because all they're doing is causing mental health issues for multiple other people. I mean, the ripple effect of him coming after me flowed into 100 other people. Literally. I mean, just ridiculous.
So for anyone listening who feels like they're struggling in silence, what's one thing you would want them to take away from this conversation?
Talk to someone.
Yeah, open up.
Take a step, open up, and it doesn't even have to be huge. Give a little bit.
Yeah.
Give it to someone you don't even know.
Open that door.
Open that door, because if you don't face it, you're gonna become it.
Yeah.
You'll never get out of it. You know what I mean? You'll never break it.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to somebody. You know, they don't have to be a therapist. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But start with a person.
Yeah.
Let it out.
It's so easy too before we reach a point of emotional maturity, when we have issues like that. Like, pretend you're this guy. You know, he's probably still in this phase of pointing the finger. Or it's
well, he plays the victim.
Fault. Yeah, it's victim.
He stays in the victim mentality, right? He won't pull himself out of that. Well, you the only person that can do that is you. And you know, I don't want to drag on about this person, right? But like in general, like if you want help, like you got to take that step, right? You gotta embrace your fear and share it.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever that is, like you got to let it out there, because if you don't let it out, it's just going to build and it's going to keep going. Right. So say something, you know, see something, say something. You see that all the time, but nobody can see it in you. So you got to let it out.
Right. Yeah. We harbor a lot and just keep it stored in our body somewhere.
Yeah. But then also, you know, don't be afraid to know where you need to end and where you can start.
Yeah.
Set your boundaries.
Yeah.
Know what they are, and know that not having boundaries can lead to having that mental health too. The minute I implemented boundaries in my life, I probably cut out about 40% of my stress load, right? Even though there was a little bit of stress load that came with maintaining those boundaries, that also decreases, right? So now I'm decade into maintaining those boundaries. My stress is way more down, right? Now stalker brings it up, right? Stupid things bring it up, but not the little things, right? The things that should bring your stress up, bring it up. And now, because I've dealt with other stress and trauma, I can work on that.
Yeah. And that's probably the most healthy thing we can do for our bodies. Like, we can talk all day about nutrition and food and environment and air and all that stuff, but like, just eliminating stress or learning how to manage your stress is like, I mean, it's the equivalent to quitting smoking, or it's the equivalent to just living way longer.
Oh yeah, if you cut stress out, you'll definitely live longer. I mean, it affects your heart, your veins, the blood flow, the whole nine. But like, you know, even, you know, the whole point you're doing this podcast, right? Like it's about Blake's Tin Man. It's about men's mental health and the stigma that, you know, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to get out of our pride, but it's also about dealing with your loss and using your pain to help others move on. Right. And, you know, if you're not real with yourself, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't open up.
Yeah. It's about, well, we can always try to make lemonade out of the lemons that we're given. But sometimes, and you know, it comes back to like that old saying, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times we have experiences in our life where like, that's hard to believe, you know, like what is the reason for this? But we don't know it right away, but eventually we listen somewhere down the road, it'll come.
Well, and you see, that's just, you won't always know your reason right away. I've been in radio for 15, 20 years, right? If you would ask me when I started what I was in it for, it would be a completely different answer than now. Like if you ask me why I'm in radio now, I'm in radio now to give back to my community, to add value to my community, to use my privilege and my platform to help equality and bring value to the community, right? But when I started, it was selfish. I want to have this DJ opportunity every Saturday night to have my mixes play on the radio. But in the end, like, yeah, I still have that, right? But
you were under that illusion, and then
if I didn't make the transition, I wouldn't have that, right? If I didn't become an on-air personality, the whole mixing thing would have disappeared, right? They would have hired somebody different to come in. Maybe they didn't have the mentality that, you know, appreciated DJs, and they just wanted to run standard programming. But it took me being willing to learn something new, to come out of my comfort zone, and to make that choice to really realize my purpose in radio and my purpose in the greater good, right? Doing these toy drives that give $100,000 back to the community, doing, you know, giving away 500 backpacks every August that are filled with school supplies, helping, you know, connect people to mental health resources, helping children's hospitals raise money, you know, all of these different things. Like, they fulfill me a lot more than a paycheck does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that does way more for me than getting paid on Saturday night to perform for a few thousand people.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, and I didn't know that until I started doing it.
Yeah.
But like that, it's just done so much more for me. Helping other people and removing myself, and like helping other people lighten their load, lighten their mental health. Even just helping everybody come together one day in December and not care about something else for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
that's beautiful. I mean, the role you're playing in the music community in Madison, and with the toy drive and everything else you're doing. You mentioned that just so far in 2025, you've been a part of helping to raise $1 million.
In 2024, 2025 are just starting, but you know, I mean, my toy drive does $100,000 there. You know, the Children's Hospital Radiothon that we do for 3 days, you know, that raised, I think, like $680,000. And then I'm the host and DJ for the Madison Marathon in November. That raised $588,000. That, you know, it's a nonprofit. It's the same people that run Taste of Madison.
Okay.
You know, I was the first DJ booked ever at Taste of Madison, and now I host my own stage at Taste of Madison.
I saw that on East Wash.
Yeah, in the East Wash corner. It used to be the 93 Jam stage. Now it's the DJ Fusion stage. And it's that in itself has been a really empowering opportunity to go from, like, it's not my radio station stage, it's my stage. It's me performing for the city that I love and empower. And I'm doing it at the base of the Capitol for 200,000 people for 2 days. You know what I mean? It's super dope. But that's a fundraiser too, right? That's a 50-year fundraiser.
When is that?
It's Labor Day weekend, September 1st every year.
Okay.
And that's a community fundraiser. So that, you know, that raised, I think, close to $1 million itself. You know, I mean, they had $250,000 in beer sales alone. You know what I mean? So they take that money and they give it back to the American Family Children's Hospital and different things, you know, and give back. So to be, you know, an ambassador and a representative of that, and you know, a key player of that, you know what I mean? Like, that's really cool. I never knew when I was first booked to do that there was no DJs that ever performed at it before. So I was the first one, and, you know, minus the pandemic year, I've done it every year since.
Yeah. What an awesome thing.
It's been pretty cool, you know, and then to be involved in, you know, like like my radio station, you know, booked Naughty by Nature. I booked Young Gravy. You know, he's from Minnesota. He went to University of Madison, you know, and I brought him here, you know, the week that he was like really blowing up nationwide. Like, that work timing really was working on my side. But, you know, it was super huge. Like it was looking like a Beatles concert on University Avenue. People were climbing the light poles. People were climbing up the buildings, bro. It was intense.
I might need to check that out. That's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, Taste of Madison's a cool experience, but, you know, it's every Labor Day weekend, and then those same people host the Madison Marathon, which is a full marathon, half marathon, and I think like a 10K or something like that too. 3 races in one, triathlon type style, and people come from all 50 states to 20, 30 countries.
Wow.
And I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and I set up and DJ at the finish line. So as people cross the finish line and run towards it, you know, I'm providing the vibes and the energy. And
very cool. I'm sure you're really good at that.
Try to, man.
I've so been wanting to, like, get to one of your events. I don't think I've been to a single one, unless I came to the foam party
He might have been. I
That's
mean,
like a
you know,
vague memory. It could have been one of those nights where it might not have been retaining.
when I started in the Dells, you could have been in Mama's Garage when I was DJing in there one night or two. Like I started in Mama's Garage, but now I work in the main room, and but I mean it's fun. What I really like about the Showboat is like they let me be me. Like there's a lot of places in Madison I don't like to work because they want to tell you what to do. They want to tell you what's acceptable and what's not. And it's like, wait a minute, like I'm the DJ, you're the bar owner. Like I'm the one that's supposed to set the vibe. You're telling me, you're more projecting what you don't want in your bar on me than what not to do, right? So what I really like about working with Jesse and Andy and the Showboat team, they just let me be me. They just let me play music, and ultimately it makes them really good money, right? You know what I mean? So, I'll play 15 different genres of music. I'll play hip hop and rock and country and dance music and Latin music, and like we please everybody. But you come in there, it's always full. It's always busy. It's always like 4 or 5 girls to every guy in the room. You know what I mean? It's like it's a great atmosphere, and they make good money. And we don't have fights. We don't have drama. You know what I mean? So it's probably been one of the better gigs that I've had, and the fact that I've been there for going on a decade now. Like that's.
Did you say weekends or Thursday? I forget.
I'm there every Saturday night.
Every Saturday, okay.
And then I'm there in the summer. I'm on Friday nights, and I do a couple of weeknights at random.
Okay.
Depending on special events and whatnot.
Okay. I still keep in touch with Idaho quite a bit.
Yeah.
We have slightly different tastes in music, but he goes to Showboat a lot for different live bands and stuff.
Yeah. They do a lot of country bands and not like your radio country, like kind of rootsy country, like less well-known bands.
Sure, like Armchair Boogie or.
I'm not familiar with a lot of them. The one thing I will say is like I'm not a country person. I play well-known country music in my DJ sets, right? That as a DJ, you go out and you play. A good DJ is going to go out and play music that women like. Women control the market. Men go where the women want to be. So yeah, I'm gonna play Shania Twain and Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and Morgan Wallen because women like that.
And you know what they like, yeah.
Right, and that's what's going to keep them there. And whether the guys like it or not, they're going to go where all the women are. You know what I mean? So, like you kind of focus your choices around that, and they let me make them money, and they don't tell me what to do and what not to do, or you've done this too long. Like it's a really great relationship. It's a really great place to work.
Yeah, I bet. I'm glad you found something that allows you to be so creative and not mundane. Like your job is, you're dealing with different people, different organizations, different music. It's always new and fresh. Something new is coming out. It's got to feel good.
I like it too because it's like when I'm on the radio, that's like that's the newest, latest, greatest. This right, and I come back to the Showboat, and that crowd's 10 years older than the radio crowd, right? So it's like I got to deal with these 100 songs on the radio all week, and then these 100 songs for my mobile gigs all week, and you don't play a lot of the same crap because people like what they like, but and that gets repetitive in itself too. But it's like, how can you do the same thing but do it differently, right? Like I know I'm gonna play 150 songs on Saturday night. 120 of them are probably gonna be the same every weekend for months on end. How do you do it differently? And that's that's the creativity and the fun behind it. You know what I mean?
Can you just look at a crowd and be like, okay, I know what I'm going to play?
Well, that's part of the job. You know what I mean? Like a good DJ is going to look at your crowd, and you're going to take a look around. You see a bunch of girls in spotted cowboy hats. Like, yeah, they probably want some Britney Spears and Shania Twain and some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's you do learn to read crowds and make general assumptions, but at the same time, there's a foundation, right? Like the foundation of me as a DJ is house music and hip hop. You're going to predominantly hear hip hop music if you come to one of my DJ sets, but you're probably going to hear house music, dance hall, reggaeton.
Yeah, you're going to want to get out on the dance floor.
You're going to get a little bit of everything, but there's different ways that things happen. Like, a DJ could get paid a flat rate. You could get paid a flat rate and a percentage of bar sales. So when you're making money based on how happy people are in a place, you're going to do things a little bit different.
Right.
If I'm making a percentage of sales, like I want everybody screaming, hollering, having a good time. If I'm just making a flat rate, like I don't care. Like I'm just going to go do me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like every place gives you a different incentive to do something, but then you got to find that happy medium to make longevity.
What's your favorite way to play?
I would say open format. Like I don't like to go to a gig where someone's like, you can just, we just want you to play hip hop or just play house music. There's times where that's appropriate, you know, like there's nothing I love more than the good warehouse party, right? But you know, it just doesn't exist anymore. You know, people want to hear things that they like, familiar music, and I really like to come out and you know, play what I want, you know what I mean, like what I'm feeling. Like it could be a Nirvana song, right? But I might not want the guitar under it. Like I might want some 808 kick drums or something, right? So we're gonna get the Smells Like Teen Spirits vibe going, lyrics that you know, but we're gonna give it something else that fits more of the aesthetic of what's happening.
You
right?
can engineer whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And now technology, like there was a time where you know, everything was on vinyl, I had 12-inch records, right? Now technology, it's all digital, and I can hit one button and this song just becomes the acapella of the song, or it just becomes the instrumental.
Oh.
So in real time, I can be like, oh, I've never had Ozzy's Crazy Train acapella, but now I can just hit one button and make it and put it over top of any instrumental I want.
That's amazing.
Right. So now I can do all of this anytime and anywhere, or I can just pull out, you know, the guitar riffs and the melody from something and layer that on something else. You know what I mean? So, you know, I really enjoy the flexibility of doing that and being able to put it together. You know what I mean? Like, I never really plan what I'm going to play. I just kind of come in and I look around. All right, this is going to be the first song. And we go.
Yeah. Very cool. We're this year, since this will probably be the biggest Tin Man triathlon that we've had this 2025. We're thinking of how we can step up the music part of it. So with the first event we did in 2022, we had a DJ out of Richmond Center who is a really good MC. Like he's good at talking and kind of hyping up the crowd, and he had good playlists, and he offered to come do the Tin Man, and he did a wonderful job. Like, and he wouldn't accept any payment. And I was like, oh, let us give you something. Like he was there from 9 a.m. until like 10 p.m.
That's a long day.
It's a long day.
It's a long day.
Yeah, but nope, wouldn't take anything. I begged for him to come back the next year. I'm like, we'll pay you this time. Well, he didn't come back. So then the second year, we got Derek Ramnerace, who is out of Bear.
I've heard that name. Didn't he used to be a guitar player?
Yeah, he's like an Americana artist. Writes a lot of his own music too, and he used to be in a band called Hooch back in the day. Now his band is called Derek Ramnerace. Shit, why can't I think of it?
I remember, you know, just going over to Baraboo and sitting in the park to listen to him play.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's dope.
Yeah, and so he's been a huge part of it. The second year he brought all the sound, and then his daughter has a band called Charlie Boy, and she is like a Janis Joplin type voice, just a little girl. But then there's 5 people in their band, or 4, and they put out some really unique sound in like indie rock type music. And so we had them 2 years in a row. But then I went to a Trevor Hall concert with my wife at the Vogue Theater in Indianapolis, and it was like 500 people were there. So not that many people, but these speakers, holy crap! I was like blown away with the size of and the power behind them. And I'm like, I knew not that the Tin Man Triathlon is a music event, but it's kind of a big part of it, because the triathlon only takes place from 11 a.m. till noon or 1 at the latest. And then after that, it's the silent auction, it's the raffles, it's the food trucks, it's the
Community.
DJ, it's the music. We've had 2 bands each year. So this year, the Coolie Boys are coming. Another country band you might not be familiar with. I don't really know them either. I just learned about them.
Yeah, but if they bring some people and they make people excited, that's what matters.
They are. Like I mentioned to my mom and stepdad, it said, we got the Coolie Boys this year. And they like jumped out of their seats. What? We met them in Florida 5 years ago and we love them. And then Chris Cole, Topher.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him in like 10 years. And a week ago, we had connected on Facebook, and he was visiting in town, and he came over for a campfire, him and his wife, Becky. And we said we're having the Coolie Boys come, and they're like, "Oh my God, we've seen them like 20 times."
Wow.
Like, they're huge fans. So I think it's
You think it's gonna go pretty good, huh?
well, I think it's gonna be one of those things where we're gonna have to ticket the event and limit how many people come, because it could easily
blow up.
Yeah, our place, we wouldn't want more than 500 people. We
Yeah.
might not want more than 400 people. So we'll make it an exclusive event. And Leah Raku, who is an artist in Reedsburg, mentioned that maybe we could charge $50 a ticket and throw in a T-shirt, so they get something out of it, but then limit it to 400 people, and then that covers the that covers the Coolie Boys and whatever other local bands we
Right,
want to bring
yeah.
in. And then the stage.
But it kind of legitimizes it and pulls you in a situation to make this a regular thing, you know, an annual event. Like it already is, right? But like you monetized it, right?
Right.
You become a
Monetize it
brand.
a little bit and make it a little more official or governed. Like now, if we do that, we're going to have to make sure we have a bartender and don't, allow any underage drinking. So there'd be some wristband management and security and parking.
Yeah, not over serving either.
New things that have to be done that weren't done in the first smaller years.
But the evolution, that's beautiful though. I mean,
Yeah.
even like the first year I did my toy drive, like we didn't wrap. Well, we did wrap the presents. The first year we didn't have food. We had a meal in, you know, and then we realized like a full meal's too much. So like then the next year was like, oh, we're gonna go to like cookies and hot chocolate and snacks. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You have to take those different steps, you know, to grow, to really see what the potential is.
Right. Well, then after this third event, where like we raised $210,000, and I was an appraiser for 23 years, and really loved a lot of parts about it. But I got to a point where we started this after this last event in September, where like we didn't want to just do scholarships, because scholarships, we were giving out $6,000 scholarships. One $6,000 scholarship is how it all started. And then we raised 20,000 at the next event. So we did a few scholarships, and then we raised over 200, and we're like, hold on a sec.
But you don't want to give it out all at once either.
No, you don't want to give it all at once, but also like, what's the return? Like $6,000 is a lot of money. So we're like, what? Not to throw the scholarship.
And that's a big scholarship too,
It is.
you know, because I remember, I mean, even now, like some of the scholarships that like we give through the radio station and stuff, I mean, they're like $1,000.
Yeah, that's typical, 500 or 1,000.
Yeah.
So we wanted it to be a good size to just really provide a lot of help. But then we're like, okay, some students change their major. Even if they don't, it'll be 4 or 5 years before they get out in the workforce to help someone with a mental health issue. So what can we do now? What can we do today? So after September of 2024, we were like, let's launch the wellness grant program, and we'll call them Tin Man coins.
I like that, man.
We give out Tin Man coins, and what happens is someone in the community, anyone can apply, and people don't always apply because they need financial assistance. A lot of times people apply because they know they're looking for something, but they might not
Don't know what
it is.
Yeah.
So they want to be nudged in a direction of some kind. So it's not always financial, but often it is. But then they come in and we meet with them for an hour and we connect those dots, like I was explaining
Yeah, you
before.
have to sheet and
Yeah.
yeah.
But then when I did that in September, I'm doing half-ass appraisals, rushing through them, procrastinating. And then I'm like, okay, now I got to do foundation work. So I'm doing stuff on that, and I'm rushing through that. And I'm doing a disservice to my appraisal clients. I'm doing a disservice to the foundation applicants. And I just said, fuck it, I'm quitting. I transitioned this appraisal business to my brother-in-law. I'm like, 23 years is enough. I'm ready to do something else, because
Different.
I've always been a creative
Yeah. You
soul.
wanted to do
I
something
wanted to
more.
build or invent something. I'm like, this is my calling. I'm like, we're not financially set up right now where this is going to just sustain itself forever. Our budget this year is $200,000 of what we're spending on administration and programs.
Wow.
Our bank account has 150. So like,
So you got to find $50,000 somewhere.
well, my job is to do more than just the Tin Man Triathlon fundraiser. Because if that, you mentioned your toy drives maybe found a glass ceiling around 100,000. I'm sure that ceiling exists for the Tin Man Triathlon too.
Right.
But there's so many other fundraising events and campaigns you can do throughout the year. So I wanted to share some of those ideas that we're working on this year with you.
Okay.
One is, we originally thought we were going to aim for June of this year, but we realized that's way too soon. We want to organize a music festival for 2026, and we want to call it the Great Awakening Music Festival, and Idaho is going to host it out at his farm.
Okay.
And he's got a great little venue going out there now, and he's expanding it to make it a bigger venue, like maybe 500 or 1,000 people.
That's pretty dope.
Easily fit there.
He's
And
kind of always done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's dope. That's
so
cool.
that's on the docket for 2026, and we want to get artists that I don't know what the genre would be. It could almost be any genre, as long as it's music that kind of touches the soul and is
Well, if
meaningful.
If you're doing it through Blake's Tin Man, you probably, the genre doesn't matter,
No,
but book
doesn't.
the artist that'll stand behind mental health,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe you can book, 8 or 10 different groups and get one person from each group to sit on a panel and I'll talk about mental health.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So then it's not just a concert, right? But like there's some benefit to it too.
Wellness event. Yeah. We want to have different practitioners, coaches, teachers, whatever, set up with different booths.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, maybe have people that, 5 or 6 people that can speak for 10 to 15 minutes in between band sets or in between bands, and just about something meaningful or tie it into mental health somehow. So that's coming down the pipe. Another one is I met with the owner of Chula Vista Resort in the Dells, Mike Kaminsky.
Yeah.
And he offered to host a gala for us in October.
Okay.
Which is awesome, because he said their last gala fundraiser raised over 200,000.
Wow.
Their first one raised 150, and the last one that was held at the Kalahari for carbone cancer raised 1.2 million.
Wow.
And then they found a donor to match it, and so they raised 2.4.
That's
because they
super
found
crazy.
a
That's
donor
beautiful,
to say,
man.
I will match whatever your event raises. So we're shooting for the moon. We're like looking for, well, for example, Aaron Rodgers was at the carbone cancer one. So we'd love to get get
a Green Bay Packer or somebody.
Somebody in there to help promote that. So that's coming this fall. The Tin Man Triathlon and Party Day itself, that is coming on September 6th, the weekend after Labor Day.
Okay.
And that party is the kickoff to a series of events that takes place. We're called Tin Man Week. And that's where we do different like group workshops in Reedsburg we could do like a group breath work or meditation or outdoor yoga, or just like a wellness fair where people can come and walk around Webb Park and meet different people that work in the wellness field and stuff like that. So then we also we have this goal of impacting somebody in each county in Wisconsin. And the reason for that, I mean, other than the obvious reasons, I want to do it soon. I want to cover at least someone in each county or have a wellness partner in each county soon, because once we have that, we can say we've touched an individual, we've helped people in each county. We can say we are a statewide organization. We have a statewide presence, statewide impact. So we can go to companies like Quick Trip and Culver's and ask them to round up for mental health in September.
Yeah, you definitely are on the right path. You know what I mean? And you don't have to necessarily be in every county to be statewide, but if you can, strategically
more than SOC
make the cross, right? Get out east, west, north, south.
Yeah.
You can make that claim before you're in every county.
True.
Right? You know what I mean? And then you can build some marketing campaigns around that. But ultimately, like it's just really beautiful that you're taking this moment to help others. You know what I mean? Like Blake's Tin Man. That's a tough time to go through, a tough situation, you know what I mean? Like to lose a child, at 20 to mental health, man, I can't even imagine, but to be able to find solace in helping other people through that, like, I'm just even more proud to know you.
Well, thanks, man. But this foundation itself has been like, I just feel so grateful to have it at all, because itself, working with this foundation itself is just healing for me. And I think it is for the rest of my family too, as a side effect or a side bonus. But really, it's I feel like I can't help it. Like this whole thing just unfolded, I feel like, by itself, and I feel like I've just been allowing it, and instead of like forcing it.
Yeah, no, you have to allow it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't force it, but at the same time, it's like, like we have children, and we intend that they're gonna outlive us. We're gonna depart before them, and when it doesn't work that way, like what that does, no, not just to you, like to your wife, to your whole family, man. Like that's a really tough situation, right? Like it's your heart outside your body, right? It's everything.
Yeah, it is. Another perspective I've gained from this too is that, I think of, I feel super lucky because I have 2 moms and 2 dads. A mom and a dad who divorced when I was young, moved to Reedsburg, and then I gained a stepmom and a stepdad who've just been just like a mom and a dad.
Okay.
And I still have all 4 of them.
Wow.
And I was at a football game last year, and I was texting, I texted the word DAD instead of texting my dad. And the whole game I was texting my dad, but he wasn't responding. And this thing went through my head. He just had a fucking heart attack, and died. And so I was like, that got in my head. And I was like picturing the loss of my father and how hard that's going to be, when I have to face that. Or my mother, my other
especially
mother,
your mother, right?
My other dad. Yeah. Especially your parents that you've had since the beginning. But, and then other people too. So it fucking sucks to lose people.
It does, man.
And it really sucks. I think, obviously to lose a child, but it's also going to really suck if I don't know which one's worse, to lose a parent. And then I thought, it wouldn't be the worst thing for my kids to die before me, because if they did, they wouldn't have to mourn the loss of their father. So it's just a different way of looking at it, because it's hard either way.
There's no easy way, brother. That's
right. But Blake left and on his choice, and that was really hard for us. But he obviously was suffering so much mentally that so he left a suicide note, and it said, depression is real, but it's hidden. And that couldn't be more far from the truth with Blake. Nobody knew he was depressed. Like, there was no signs. I look back at some pictures now, and some smiles don't look genuine, but that's so common when you take a picture, smile.
Yeah, your kids, you're awkward, you're learning
but
everything.
You couldn't see it. He was constantly laughing and helping others and moving. He was very energetic. And so it just, for him to write that, depression is real, but it's hidden, it was like, he nailed it on the head, because he shocked the entire community that knew him. And that's what started all this, and helping others in their struggles is just like, okay, I feel like I've found a way to say, this is why, this was the reason, like we were saying, you don't always know.
We see it right then, but it's also your way to keep Blake with you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's orchestrating all this.
In the
There's
moment,
no doubt about that these things are coming together because of him.
When Brandon first tagged me on the post and you said you were looking for something, I really had no idea how deep this was, what this was, right? And we started talking a little bit, and then I had to go DJ and whatnot. But I got home Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I have weird hours, right? Two different sleep schedules. I'm reading your website and like realizing what this is about, man. And I'm just crying. Like, I just let it go, right? I lost it. Like this is incredible. Like, you've gone through something that you shouldn't have to go through, right? And yet you're still trying to help others with it. And it really resonated with me, but it made me really emotional. You know what I mean? And when you're like, I want to talk about mental health, I'm like, I don't know that I'm the right person for that, right? But who's the right or the wrong person?
Yeah.
Like, we all have struggles.
Yeah, no such thing. Right.
You never know. But, again, like I'm always trying to deal with why I left here. So I was like, I got to do this. I got to do this. And then I read your website and I just lose it, man. I'm like, my kids are 2 floors up. I got my dog, like a 60-pound dog in my lap, and I'm just bawling like a kid at 5 a.m, like looking at pictures of your son. And I'm like, man, like it just hit me a little bit harder. You know what I mean? I was like, I really got to do this. I got to make this time, and I need to come up here. I really respect what you're doing. And I don't know, man. It's just like, this is what life is about, right? Helping other people, growing, and not losing sight of who we are.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Shay, and I'm glad that it struck a chord with you and that you agreed. But I think you agreed to come up even before.
I agreed before that, though. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't about that. Like, it wasn't about, once I knew what you were doing, it was right. Like, Brandon said, like, hey, Shay should do this. I had a chance to. I was never really close with Tara, but we connected last year through the Challenge Academy, something her family's going through, one of her sons is going through. And it's just, it's part of me getting over why I left here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 25 years later, I'm still caught up in my feelings about Reedsburg, right? And then it's not person or any individual person. It's just the whole.
Your experience with it. Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was what it was. You know what I mean? And it shaped me into who I am, and it made me a great person. But also, for a long time, I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to address it, and you know, it just really took a big life change. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't went through my 20s. I didn't want kids. I didn't want to get married. You know, that was cool, just out partying, right? And you know, and I get to my 30s and I meet, you know, who becomes my wife, and now I've got kids, and you know, things change. You know what I mean? So, you know, learning, you know, for me, learning over the last few years that helping other people is what really helps me. And then seeing that that's what you're doing, I'm like, I got to do this. You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, and then breaking that stigma of men talking about mental health, like, you know, we're all looked at like to be the providers, to be strong. Like, you're not supposed to have, you know, your weak and vulnerable moments. You can't break, right? So, you know, who looks after the person that's looking after everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like these are important conversations to have, and it might not be something, maybe I'm not conveying my message perfect, right, or whatever. But again, like these are important things to do. Like, mental health is something that should be addressed, should be taken into consideration, and we do actively need to work on it. Otherwise, you lose it.
Yeah. Well, it's just happy to provide like a platform of open, like a safe space where people can, where it's like cool to talk about it. Like, if you're going to come on this podcast, we're going to talk about things that might not be the normal small talk topics.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being willing and open to doing that.
Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I just look forward to how I can help support Blake's Tin Man through the future.
All right. Well, I have one idea.
What you got?
Well, I wanted to finish with the countywide thing, you know, before we launch that program, which we haven't and won't here in the real near future. But I want to have like give corporations or groups in counties the ability to adopt a county, and what that does, like if for $13,000 you can adopt a county. And so let's say Quick Trip wants to adopt La Crosse County.
Yeah.
Well, with that $13,000, it covers operating expenses for Blake's Foundation to have a presence in that county, which is awesome because every fundraiser that's done after that, 100% goes to programs.
Nice.
And so, like, if you adopt a county, you're
putting it into operation.
You're putting it into operation. Everything else is just.
And really, for a company like Quick Trip, you know, $13,000, that's a tax write-off. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, they're selling that in milk in Reedsburg today.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Like, getting the right meetings, and I don't think it'll be super difficult.
And
they're
very community involved company too. I think that you got a good chance. I mean, the city I live in DeForest, they just somehow bought or sponsored a sports complex.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
In DeForest, right on the interstate. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good idea, man. You know, and I think also, you know, over time, you know, I've got, you know, with Midwest Family Medicine, I can introduce you to some more people that can help really amplify this message, you know, through the Madison area, like you've done with some other radio stations up here. You know, we can help you in that market.
Yeah. I'm going on WOLX tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Are they in your building?
They are not. That's I believe that's iHeart.
Okay. So yeah, I've been trying to get more radio spots, and just to talk about it, bring awareness to our foundation and what we're doing.
What time are you up there tomorrow?
It's a phone call, like 10 a.m.
Okay.
So I'm not going to be in person. But then on Thursday, we're launching our Snowball fundraiser campaign. I'm hoping for some snow because it would make sense, but
I know there's one more coming. I'm guaranteeing you we're going to get one more snowfall. I don't know that it's going to stick.
Well, Wednesday or Thursday would be nice because it would tie in. It's called the Snowball fundraiser because it's hopefully like a snowball effect or a viral effect.
Okay.
How it works is I've acquired 150 seeds, actually 151, because I'm adding your name to the list. I'm asking these seeds to just commit to donating any amount. It could be $1. It could be $5.
Whatever you need.
The point is to donate and then share and nominate. And it's like getting these seeds to all launch at the same time on Thursday is powerful because that helps create the
viral effect. Right.
Like all of a sudden 150 people go in the matter of a few hours, and then it's just kind of floods the internet. And if they tag and nominate, then you just never know. You start the snowball with your 150 seeds, and then you push it off the mountain, and then you just
see
watch
where it goes. Yeah.
see where it goes. So
I dig that, man. I like that.
So we're launching that on Thursday. So I'm gonna send you a quick video to just explain.
Yeah,
it.
no, send me that, and definitely count me in. I'll post that up and make a donation too, man.
Very cool.
That's super awesome. I love what you guys are doing here, man. And you know, I'm sorry that you know, we're reunited through a tragic situation like this, but it's still really cool because it's helping people, right? You know what I mean? Like man, men's mental health is something that's stigmatized, like you said. So to be able to come out and say, okay, like, yeah, we want to make sure that, you know, people are in a good mental health state. Men are in a good mental health state. Like, not enough people are doing that, man. So just bringing even a little bit of awareness to that, that's a huge thing.
Good. I feel honored to play this role, but thanks for being here. Thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it as well.